the part that talks about being appalled in that psalm. Psalm 143 understands and ends with, would you please get rid of these enemies? I've had it with them. I'm your servant. Psalms are great to read in times of struggle because they're not necessarily all fixed up and nice. Sometimes our feelings aren't all fixed up and nice. Sometimes we are appalled at the pain to the right and the left of us. Sometimes we are so deeply shocked that people who are different than we are not protected to the same degree that we are. Yesterday, I'm reading the news, which is increasingly an act of desperation, but I'm reading the news, and I read about a young man in Evanston, Illinois, who recently graduated with a PhD in engineering from Northwestern University. Fine young man, going home one night, gets in his car, just starts to drive off, and is surprised by multiple police cruisers with their lights on flashing. He pulls over, he gets out with his hands high in the air because you may be surprised to hear that this is a man of color. His hands are right up there in the air, and he's shocked. What has he done? And the police are immediately saying, get on the ground, and they push him down, put a knee in his back. And he's saying, what did I do? And they're yelling at him, stop resisting. They finally share with him that they've heard someone was trying to steal a car. Now, mind you, this is his car. He has the key. He used the key to unlock the door, the key to start the car. He has the registration in his car. And when, after beating him up on the ground and manhandling him finally and getting those papers that prove he is the guy who owns this car, you might think they would say they were sorry. You might think that, right? No. They know now it's his car. One police officer, and this is on tape, jokes, this is funny, that he's lucky he didn't get shot. Well, you're lucky I didn't shoot you. Really? Lucky he didn't get shot for driving his own car peacefully in the college, the progressive college town that he'd lived in for so many years? And not only that, this man is still arrested. The officers charge him with resisting arrest. I don't know, was he resisting as he fell to the ground and got a knee in his back? Not according to the video, but they call it resisting arrest. Brazen it out and bring him to jail. He finally gets to court where a judge says, yeah, you're innocent. What the heck is happening? Finally, that happens. But this young man with a brand new PhD in engineering has an arrest record now. You can't erase that. So when a future employer does a background check, this particular PhD level engineer has an arrest on his record. Sure, you'll find out that a judge found him innocent later, but it's going to be a flag that he's stuck explaining anytime he looks for a job. Are you appalled?
Yes.
We need to be appalled, and we need not to think, well, that was a once in a million happening. It's not. This guy happened to have a PhD. What if you don't have a PhD? What if you're less affluent? What if you just work in a school cafeteria? You might get stopped and killed because you're driving while black. Imagine what this does Sebastian and Sean, as little boys growing up, about policemen are your friends. And that's how I was raised. Policemen are my friends. And I know policemen, and there are plenty of them who are so good and kind and loving. And yet, policemen, like the rest of us, it's not like they're especially racist, because it was a woman who called and reported, and she said to the 911 for this man in Illinois, she said to the 911 operator, I hope I'm not racially profiling, but I think there's a man trying to steal a car. And remember, he had a key. He opened the car with his key. So what was the sign that a man might be stealing a car? Well, his skin was dark and he had a hoodie on. Okay then, that proves it. We live in times that are wrong. And we thought we were a lot further along than we are. For a long time, we thought we were further along, but we must be alert to the fact that in this time and place, there is gasoline being poured on these smoldering pockets of unease with people who look different. This has always been a problem. During World War II, we know that Japanese Americans, who often had young men from their family serving overseas, and they didn't get sent to like islands in the Pacific where they could maybe try and blend in if they ever got behind enemy lines. No, because they were afraid they might be defectors. So yes, they served, but they served in Germany. Now, if you were a regular Caucasian person from this country and you got separated from your buddies behind enemy lines in Germany, if you kept your mouth shut, there was a chance you might blend in a little bit. How much do you think those Japanese American soldiers could blend in overseas? Not at all. Meanwhile, their families had lost everything and were imprisoned in internment camps. Cecilia and Punky, on their trip west, went to visit an internment camp in Wyoming. She said there were a lot of people there. It was a big place. There were a lot of people, but it was so quiet. It was really quiet because people were so powerfully moved by the horror of that place that they were quiet, except that sometimes you would hear people crying because it was so awful what had happened to innocent people, to lose everything, lose their freedom, and be kept imprisoned in this country. So of course, now, once again, we're rounding up people who look different from most of us here. People with darker skin. Brown people are getting separated from their children. Some of them have crossed the border and tried to claim asylum, which is legal. It's legal to claim asylum. If you're in fear for your life, it is legal to come to this country and say, hello, I was in danger, and you're supposed to be heard in court and be able to hopefully prove, if you can't prove to the satisfaction of the judge that you feared for your life, they send you back. But that's legal recourse according to our laws in this country now. But those folks, and not just them, there are people in our country who have lived in this country for a long time, but remember, their skin is brown. And they have green cards. They came here illegally. They have green cards, and they're very easy to round up. Because of their green cards, we have a record of where they live. So we're finding some of those folks also arrested and pulled in. What do people of faith do in times like this? What do we do in times when we're called to be civil. Martin Luther King had a beautiful letter that he wrote from the Birmingham jail. He was a powerful man of faith and courage, and he knew a lot about injustice that was based on skin color. And he was always told to be quieter, to take more time, that things would change, just don't push too hard. But he had to say no to that. And the reason he had to say no to that is because his heart would not let him stop. He did not. He practiced peaceful resistance. We are not called to violence. And there is some of that afoot now. And we must know that it is never okay to say both sides are equal when one side is violent and favoring violence, advocating violence, and another side is peaceful. All sides are not equal. We are called as Christians to discern where God is in difficult times. That's what the Psalms are all about. That's why I talk to the kids about memory verses. In Psalm 143, verse 8, there's a little memory verse that I have in my heart. I learned it from the New International Version, which is slightly different than the one in the Revised Standard that Linda read this morning. Verse 8 says, "Let the morning bring me word of your unfailing love, for I put my trust in you. Show me the way I should go, for unto you I entrust my life." I love how that is in the NIV because it uses the word trust twice. We're asked to trust a lot every day. And just because we're Christians does not mean we swallow everything people tell us. We are invited to be people of curiosity, people of determination, and by George, we better figure out what the facts are before we just accept the latest soundbite. Especially, and I'm going to say this, if it's a Fox News soundbite. It is possible to evaluate our news services. They are not all equal. If you do the research online, there are some news sources that are pretty far left. There are some news sources, and Fox News is one of them, that is quite far right. And then there are some news sources, CBS News is one of them, the Christian Science Monitor is another, that are right there in the middle. And so it doesn't mean don't listen to Fox News. Go ahead, check it out. What are they saying? Don't listen to Mother Jones News. Go ahead, check it out. Sometimes they've broken through with news reports before anybody else. Check it all out. Go to the places in the middle. Check for original sources before you just say, oh, that must be how it is, because we live in difficult times. And we're not the first people to live in difficult times. Just before the Civil War, I used to be Methodist. The Methodist Church, which has a book of discipline, that's how people say, this is what we believe as a church family. Well, you know what? Just before the Civil War, even though there's supposed to be one book of discipline, that was not true right then. Required a little research at the time, and many people don't know it today, but before the Civil War, trying to keep the peace, civility, when families were ripped apart then, people were enslaved, mothers and babies were separated whenever, people were killed with no recourse, people were horribly tortured because, of course, the color of their skin. So at that time, good church people had two books of discipline. There was one for the South. Do you think it mentioned how wrong slavery was in the book of discipline that was published for the South? Do you think it mentioned that? Mm-mm. No, we just didn't mention it. It wasn't polite. In the North, it was mentioned that it was against Methodist principle to own slaves. People of faith are called not to swallow whatever convenient belief system is around you at the time. We are called to go to God, to listen to what those nudges in our hearts say. How do we know what God is saying unless we read Scripture seriously? That we do entrust our lives to God, that we have times of prayer. For me, I like that memory verse I have from 143. Let the morning bring me word of your unfailing love. Because if you've had a tough night and everything is just wrong, my mom used to always say, it'll be better in the morning. And when you open your eyes in the morning, sometimes even before the sun is up, it's still morning. And God's word will reach us. God's love will reach us. But we have to make sure we have some quiet times where we're not just in argument, where we're not just beating ourselves up about everything we can't fix and how all these other people are wrong. When we go to God with all our hope and all our love and say, let the morning bring me word of your unfailing love. God's love does not fail. For I put my trust in you. Show me the way I should go. We can't just hang around, sipping our coffee and doing nothing. Maybe our hearts are being nudged, like Joyce suggested, to say, we're a church family. Is there a kid and a separated family we could walk beside to make a difference? Show me the way I should go. We've got to get a move on. If ever there was a time when we needed to respond, I submit to you, now is that time. God's love is unfailing. And we are not alone for the journey. We've got one another. We've got strength. We've got God that loves us beyond measure. And we have to be careful, because maybe I look around this church and we don't have too many, well, some of you are really well tamed, but not too many people with really dark skin in this room. But we do have some folks we love here who have same-sex married spouses, and we celebrate that. And in our country, the Supreme Court, which is poised to change, made it possible for us to honor legally all marriages, whether you have an opposite sex partner or a same-sex partner. We celebrate that. I submit to you, if ever there was a dangerous time, now is one of those dangerous times. But God's love is unfailing. There are plenty of things we cannot do, but there's always something we can do. And by God's grace, the morning and God's love, God's unfailing love, will help us discern where we go. Because God is a God of moving along. May grace help us move together. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.